Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Land Druid Wizard build guide for in Baldur's Gate 3. So the Land Druid is a very powerful class and definitely an underrated one. What's nice about the Land Druid is it's a spellcaster, but you also got wildshape forms to give you a bit of tankiness and survivability. So this can be a really nice class, and I'm going to get into some synergies that it has with the Wizard. Now at level 1, we only get to choose 2 cantrips here, and I would recommend going with Shillelagh and Thornwhip. These are the special druid ones. This one will imbue your staff and give it a bludgeoning damage and takes your spellcasting ability for attack rolls, so it'll take our wisdom to help us hit our attacks a little bit more frequently. Now, this is a multi-attribute dependent build. But when you're in wild shape form, we don't actually take our normal ability scores, so that can be kind of nice in a way. We're going to want to take our intelligence up as much as we possibly can get it. Now, it's kind of tricky because we do want to have a good amount of constitution alongside our dexterity for an armor class. So this does get a little bit tricky to balance, but something like this would be ideal for having some intelligence. Now, if you do have the circlet of intelligence, you can completely dump this and take your constitution up to 16. But provided we don't have the circlet of intelligence, that's what we're going with. And I'm going to do it this way for the purposes of this build. And then we can put the rest in strength there. So yeah, we get our prepared spells. We get to choose them at next level. And nice little thing is you can swap these out at level 1. So if you don't like what you got there and you're only level 1, you'll level up soon. But yeah, we're going to go with the circlet of the land here. This gives us a wild shape and all of the different abilities to change into. And we get natural recovery, replenish expended spell slots while out of combat. And this is a natural recovery charge. We get to pick another cantrip. Guidance is an amazing one. You should always have someone with guidance at all times. Poison spray is not that great because a lot of people resist poison. Produce flame can be good for setting up certain things with fire damage. So guidance, if you don't have someone that has guidance, and if you do, then you can take produce flame. We got nice +5 spell attacks with our wisdom there. As for our spells that we want to take at level 1, so I would say that Create Water and Ice Knife is pretty good early game damage. You can set up Create Water outside of combat, and then you can have anyone that has cold damage be able to abuse that. So if you have Chromatic Orb Lightning or Chromatic Orb Cold, you can go with either of those. Now, I do think that it's good to have some form of crowd control because that's a really big focus of the Druid. Healing Word's kind of a non-negotiable. You always want to have that because it's a bonus action heal, and we're using 2 pieces of gear that's going to give both Blade Ward and Bless on heal, so it can be really nice. And another useful use for this is if you have a teammate that goes down, you can pick them back up with that. Now, I really like Fog Cloud for concentration, and you can apply this in a large area. Someone should have Speak with Animals, because that's just an amazing spell outside of combat. Long Strider is a great ritual spell that you can cast on people until long rest. Everyone can benefit from increased movement speed, literally everyone. But Entangle is another good one, create a finding surface, slowing down creatures and possibly entangling them. So we're going to go with those 2 for our crowd control, but Long Strider is also a really great option there. So that's what we're going to take for level 2 Druid. And the Wizard does bring a lot of usefulness to this build that I'll get into, but we're going to stick with the Circle of the Land here. So what's nice is we get some spells here from the Circle of the Land. So there's a few different ones that are good, like Misty Step's good, but you can also get Misty Step from the Coast, which is also nice because it gives us a +9 to armor class with Mirror Image, and then Misty Step. So Coast is good for survivability if you find you're getting slapped around a lot. But another good option is actually to go with the Arctic, because Hold Person is a fantastic crowd control spell. But yeah, there's a few different ways we can go about going with this. I do think that the best way to go about it is actually to go with the start with the Hold Person and Spike Growth, because this just sets your whole entire team up, and Spike Growth is great for crowd control. We do get a way to cast that later on. And then for our level 2 spell, there's a few different ones that are great. I really like Flaming Spear to give yourself another summon on the battlefield. It deals fire damage, which is kind of nice. Flame Blade can be good too, and I have a video on a way that you can get a permanent Flame Blade, so if you're interested in that, go check it out. But we're going to go with that for level 2 at Druid. And again, we get our nice Hold Person there and Spike Growth, which is great crowd control options. The Circle of the Land has amazing crowd control. We also get the Deep Rothe form here with Dancing Light charges. 23 health points increase every two Druid levels. We'll take Guidance there for our next spell. Heat Metal is a pretty good damage option early game. 2d8 fire damage, and they have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks if you're wearing armor. So It's pretty good, and definitely one of the better options early on in the game for damage. And then for our feat at level 2, I think it's best to go with an increased overall wisdom, because this is really our main spellcasting modifier here. There's a few different ways that I'll be giving a special different ways you can build out this build at the end of this video. So at level 3, we get some really nice spells here that are just absolutely powerful. The level 3 or level 5 is when this class really starts to come online. And another really great option is whenever we get to here, we want to get haste somehow, because haste is fantastic. But there's so many great options for spells. I think Sleet Storm's a good one for crowd control as well, because it interrupts the concentration of spellcasters and creates icy surfaces, which you can turn to water, and then double damage for cold and lightning spells. And haste is just fantastic. I would recommend having a sorcerer that can twin haste, or a spore druid that can do haste on the entire party. But yeah, I think that that's a pretty good option. Sleet Storm is nice, underrated spell, but for our next level, I would say have Call Lightning, because this has amazing synergy with Create Water, because you can continually call down 3d10 lightning damage, so maximum 60 damage, which is really nice, and it's concentration, so you can call lightning and then continually call lightning without expending spell slots, which is really nice if you're running low on spells. But I also think that you should have plant growth. Now, underrated spell for sure here. A lot of people don't seem to show it love. This quarters movement speed, but it is very synergetic. If you have like a warlock that has Hunger of Hadar, put plant growth on it and people are trapped in that Hunger of Hadar basically. Also, we can heal from Hunger of Hadar, or heal from plant growth with this armor, which I'll get into later on, but plant growth is much better than people give it credit for. So, yeah, level 5, we also get the double attack in our wild shape, so pretty good damage. And then we also got the landstride difficult terrain. You've become an expert. Difficult terrain never slows you down. So yeah, you can pop plant growth and just run all over it. No worries there. So that's really good. And then we also get our panther form, which is just really fun. And I do have a panther build that I'm working on. It'll be releasing at a later date. But for next spell, protection from energy can be okay if you are going into specific areas of the game. But I think even just taking Longstrider is awesome to have, just because sometimes as a druid you don't end up using all your spell slots, so you'll get comfortable with where you are with spell slots, and then you can apply it to the rest of the team. Now we get some really nice spells here from the Circle of the Land that we can also get from I guess the options from there. So whatever we take is removed off of the options there. I really like to have Conjure Minor Elemental, because that's just it's a really useful one, especially alongside Create Water, which I'll get into. So the Arctic one gives us Minor Elemental plus Ice Storm, which we don't normally want to take spells that, I mean, all the spells here will be from there, but yeah, I think that the best one to go with is likely probably the Arctic, because Minor Elemental is just too good to not take, and then the Ice Storm is also really great, double damage from the water. So next level, we definitely want to take the Conjure Woodland Being. This also comes with another summon, and this one casts Entangle, and then the summon that it brings in can use Spike Growth. So we have a reliable creature that can set up crowd control without us having to worry about it. And I also think that Confusion is a really great spell. It's underrated. 3 turns Confusion, concentration, but it just shuts down the enemy team. So it's pretty good. It's a big crowd control like Fireball. I think it's underrated for sure. But at level 8, this is where we get ourselves the next feat. And I would take Confusion at this level. Grasping Vine can be okay, but it is a bonus action. Summon a giant vine capable of dragging creatures towards itself. So that can be good crowd control, but I think Confusion's a really great option to have. Situational, but when it does hit, it hits strong. So I think that the best one to go with for here is actually just increase our wisdom up a little bit further. We can go with a little bit increased intelligence if you find that you want to have more wizard spells and have a higher chance of hitting with them, but I think it's best to go with high wisdom for the purposes of this build. The wizard does add a lot, but next Circle of the Land, Cone of Cold is really good, so that's a spell that I would always recommend having if you can possibly get it. So normally we don't get it here, so that's another thing, but if we take this, we get Cone of Cold, one of the best cold spells in the game. This actually turns this class to like a very powerful class, because It's 8d8 of cold damage that can be doubled with Create Water, so that is just incredibly powerful. Contagion's not that great, but that's our only source of getting the Cone of Cold there, which we don't normally get, so I'd recommend taking it. And then Conjure Elemental, we honestly want to have that. The more summons we can get, the better, because that just gives us great crowd control. Planar Binding can be pretty good too. It attaches your consciousness to another worldly being, and then they're on your team for 10 turns, but they have to... they do a wisdom saving throw to resist it, and it is really great when you can get that concentration off. I think that Insect Plague is another really great option for just overall crowd control, shutting down the enemy team. So that, or even Mass Cure Wounds, which is not amazing for, like, you don't want to be healing too often in this game. But if you don't have a Cleric, I would take that. I'm also using 2 items that'll give the whole team Bless and Blade Ward. So Mass Cure Wounds can heal the entire team and give it to everyone. So that's really, really nice. And then level 10 is going to be where things get a little bit interesting, because we also get our improved Wild Shape. And then we also get Nature's War. War can be charmed or frightened by elementals and fae. Disease and poison no longer affect you. And we get the Dilophosaurus. So that'll come with the 3 attacks, which is very nice. I would take resistance there. Poison Spray just kind of sucks in general. And then for our next spell, either Planar Binding, Insect Plague. They're both concentrations, so it's a little bit tricky dividing your concentrations up there. But now this is where we can add in the Wizard. Because at level 12, level 11, I guess, we get the level 6 spell slots. But the Druid gets Major Heal, which is cool if you have a Dark Urge, because you can have a special interaction with it. And Sunbeam is good too. But I do think it's almost better to add in the Wizard at this point, because it opens up our damage options by a lot. So for the cantrips that we want to take, I would go with Shocking Grasp and Ray of Frost for the double damage that they can get from setting up water. So if you run out of spell slots, it's a great option. Minor Illusion's great too, but I would recommend having someone else with that. Firebolt, fantastic. It sets up fire. So if you have barrels, you can explode them. You can turn ice into water. But Bone Chill is also really good because it can prevent the target from healing. There's some Act 3 fights that'll completely get shut down if you are able to shut down the healing. So we're going to go with that. Now for our spells here, there's a lot that we already have. But we want to go with... I would recommend taking Shield. Increase armor class by 5. Super useful. Grease is really good too. Sleep's more useful early in the game. Magic Missile is fantastic just for setting up a lot of damage. 3 magical darts that don't miss, and they can curve through walls. Chromatic Orb is another really nice one that we want to take, because Chromatic Orb just... it's crazy. You can change it to lightning or cold and double the damage from water. Find Familiar is another one we'd like to have. Since this build is focused around having a lot of summons, it can be nice to have Find Familiar on. And then I guess Disguise Self is not a bad one, or Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Or I guess Mage Armor can be another option too. Maybe we'll go with that. And then for our prepared spells, I would always have Shield on. Find Familiar can be good if you like to use that. It's level 1 spell, but it can basically prevent you from taking 1 hit, or someone on your team from taking 1 hit. Maybe even 2 hits if they attack and miss the cat or whatever summoning you bring in. And Magic Missile for the guaranteed damage is nice, but you can also go with Chromatic Orb. So either one of those. What's nice about Magic Missile is if you can't hit a target at all with any other spell, sometimes Magic Missile will be your only option for damage. So it can be really nice. And we also get the Arcane Recovery, so that's pretty nice just to have. And then here we get to choose our subclass. You can go with the level 6 spell here and just have that 1 level of Wizard. But I do think that it's good to take this. Now, the Evocation Wizard gets the safety from... so if you launch a Fireball or something, I guess we can't do Fireball, but if we launch any type of spells, it protects our team from taking the damage from the spells. There's not a whole lot of spells that we'd end up damaging our team with, like Chromatic Orb potentially, but I think it's actually good to go with the Necromancer. Now, this doesn't fully fit the theme of this build, but... if we hit a target with a level 5 spell, like if we hit a target with Cone of Cold, we get 10 health back if we eliminate the target with it. So that passive healing is actually quite nice, because the other classes do give stuff. Like The Evocation Wizard will prevent you from hitting your team with Cone of Cold. But the nice thing about Cone of Cold is you can really set it up so that you don't hit your team. I haven't had any issues when I tested this build, so I'm going to go with taking the Necromancer because it's really effective. And for the spells, I guess Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Witch Bolt, I guess. Witch Bolt's not fantastic, but we'll go with something like this. So Chromatic Orb, Magic Missile, Find Familiar, and Shield. And then, yeah, we get that heal on spell slot, but we also save some gold whenever we scribe Necromancer spells. And yeah, typically what we want to be doing with this class is we'd want to be setting up water at the start of combat because it won't aggro anyone. But we always want to have our creatures summoned in. So I've been playing another Crab's Treasure rate lately, so I'll summon in the Crab. It's kind of funny to have that little crabby guy there. And then Scratch is also familiar, so if you have Scratch, you can't have both of them at the same time. Woodland Being was fantastic, so whenever we summon that in, you don't want to upcast this one, but the Dryad will also have their summon, so Fallen Lover, and they have Spike Growth, so that's easy crowd control. That's what you want to be basically doing every single turn with this one, is just summoning in Spike Growth. It also has Strength in Shillelagh with 6 to 34 bludgeoning damage, crazy strong. And the Woodwoad ends up having more health than the Dryad there, and they got Entangle, so that's a really nice spell just to have. And they can also heal themselves, so that's pretty good. And we also want to be using our other summons here, so we can go with the level 6 spells, the Myrmidons. Water, Myrmidon will set up water on your team. It heals the enemy, but if you use it before anyone gets hurt, it's not going to heal them. And it's going to create water, and then you can blast them with lightning. Otherwise, I think the Earth Elemental is fantastic because it has prone on attack. And it's pretty tanky itself. It doesn't need much support, but it can knock people prone, and it's got some pretty powerful attacks, so it's a pretty good one. And then our typically strategy in combat would be, again, create water. We have Cone of Cold for fantastic amounts of damage. Cone of Cold is underrated, I feel like, for this build in particular. That's the only way you can get it. You can also go with an upcasted like Chromatic Orb Lightning, which will do 56 damage, and on water that's 112 damage, so that's pretty good. Confusion, see the size of that? That's great for just overall crowd control purposes. And we also get that Arcane Recovery to recover level 1 spell slots, so that gives us that free Find Familiar, basically. And then also, I guess Conjure Us can happen too. That doesn't count as a familiar, so we can summon that one in. And then we have a nice crowd of creatures there. Before we even talk about going into wild shape, because we do get the 2 wild shape charges and 5 natural recovery charges, so the number of spell slot, you can charge a level 5 spell back, which is kind of nice, get a free Conjure Elemental. And then we also got haste, which is just fantastic. So yeah, there's the level 5 spell slot, uses the 5 natural recoveries, or if you want to go with lower level spells, I'm also using the Marka Heshker staff here. It's really great, and the reason it's so good is you get Arcane Battery, so you get a free spell cast, so a free Cone of Cold, and then on top of that, you can also go with the Kareska's Favor, Lightning, and they'll give you Chain Lightning, or you can go with the Cold version, and this will give us a free cast of Cone of Cold and Ice Storm, so that's kind of nice. If you really like the cold damage, it's very useful for that, but Chain Lightning is fantastic too, so on top of all of that, we can also, I guess for gear, I'll get into the gear side of things. I have the Corvid token, so whenever you're wild shape, you get feather fall and you get increased jump and movement speed, so or flying speed, so that's kind of nice. Now these rings work together fantastically. So the Ring of Regeneration heals you for 1 to 4 at the start of turn, and then when you heal a creature, it gets a 1d4 bonus to attack rolls and saving throws for 2 turns. But this will proc on ourself with this ring because it counts as healing ourself, so we get that. And then also with the Reviving Hands, when you heal a creature, it gains the effect of Blade Ward, so you'll take half physical damage, and that's just incredibly powerful. We also get Revivify, so that's also a nice option. The Armor of Landfall is typically the gear that you'd want to be using for this, so +1 to spell save DC. When starting your turn on plant growth or vine surface, regain 1d4 health points. So even at the early game, if you have Entangle here, I hope that doesn't... Okay, cool, it didn't aggro anyone. Sometimes Scratch will aggro if you do things like this, but yeah, you'll get the passive healing from this. And also you can see there I got Bless and Blade Ward from the heal, which is kind of funny. So this armor will also set up that heal and Blade Ward. So you're pretty much invincible. Cloak of Protection +1 armor class, Evasive Shoes +1 armor class, Mask of Soul Perception +2 to attack rolls, initiative rolls, and perception checks. Initiative is important when we're in wild shape because all of our stats don't carry over to wild shape, but this will. Also, 85 health is not fantastic, so if you take on Amulet of Greater Health, that's also great because it'll give you advantage in Constitution saving throw checks, which we have a lot of concentration, so that'll help us hold our concentration. So I'd recommend going with that there. And then on top of all of that, we do get our wild shape form. So we get a ton of different ones here that we can go into. And this gives us a lot of tankiness because that's temporary health that we get. And once we die from that, we can go back into wild shape. So this is a really tanky build because you get Bless and Blade Ward in your wild shape. So extremely powerful build. And on top of all of that, we can also scribe our wizard spells. So I don't know why that's not appearing there, but you can purchase, or you can learn your spells here, and then whenever you learn them, then you can just scribe them at any time. So pretty effective build in Baldur's Gate 3. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.